Welcome to this episode of Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and I have back with me Dan Keller. Coach Dan Keller, welcome back to Market Shares, buddy.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you here. Last week, you had some speaking events. We ended up going to Nashville together, which was awesome to speak to a group down there. And then you went from there to San Antonio and spent a couple days at the Core Summit. And for those of you that don't know, Dan does all the training and coaching up here in the Pacific Northwest region. He's now expanding his reach to other, regions throughout our organization. But he also hosts a Facebook group where he does coaching. But really, the core, if you will, of his coaching platform is based around the core coaching, and that's something that in Dan's own words, has really made a huge impact in his life since joining that back in 2014. And every year they have the annual summit, and so Dan was just down there for a couple days, and I'm excited to hear some of the big takeaways from that group. I mean, that's a room full of how many?
It's 500. He caps it at 500. Typically, there's about 375 coaching students between mortgage and real estate, and then about 125 to 150 new people that want in. So 500 max, and it was great. It's pretty cool to be, in the same room with people that are doing branch managers and loan officers that are performing at a higher level than we are. So
yeah,
it's great.
Well, I mean, I think you got some of the best performing top producers in the country at that event would be my guess. But look, I'm sure everyone's dealing with the same challenges that we've spoke about on this podcast in the past. I mean, this is one of the most challenging markets I know in my 26 years in the mortgage industry that I've seen. I know, Dan got in 2008. Probably more challenging in many ways than what we dealt with in 2008. I mean, different, but still very challenging. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about the event. What are some of the big takeaways? And what are you seeing top performers doing in a market like this to really hit numbers? And I will say this before you get going. Mm-hmm. Whatever you've been doing is making a big difference, right? I mean, your numbers are way up from where they were. I think that, like everyone else, you were trying to figure out this market, and you have, as far as I can tell. I mean, probably not hitting the peak numbers that we were hitting back in 21 or whatnot, but definitely solid production back for Team Keller. And so I'm sure what we're going to hear today is a lot of what you're already doing, but maybe some new stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, I know one of the things that I love about the core coaching, and I'm not here to pitch the core. I mean, we have our own coaching, which is, I'm fed by the core. What we're doing here at NAF is just to try to bring fundamentals, just basic. I mean, you were a great loan officer, and now you're an executive. And so everything that we talk about is always funny because when you and I talk, you're like, yep. Yeah, that's just a fundamental. That's blocking and tackling.
Yep.
I think what the core has done for me is it's helped me block and tackle at a higher level. This is the fundamentals of making a sales call, earning the respect and the trust of a realtor partner or an estate attorney or a financial planner, but then just having a system and a process built around what we do as loan originators so that realtors and our clients can go, wow. Like, that was a great process. A big part of that is being at the right company. New American Funding has in my opinion, the top loan originating platform for us to plug loans in. Okay, so now it's just on us. What do we do extra as loan officers and as branch managers to provide an exceptional experience? The other thing that I love about the core for me is every 6 months we go to a summit. We go to one in November, which is all business planning, and then we go to one in May, which was just last week, which is typically how to finish the rest of the year strong. The thing I love about these, and I love about me personally being coached, is one, I'm coached by high performers. Number two, it's something new every single time because they're feeling the same pains that we are, Tony, whether it's in a different marketplace. There's 4 or 5 core coaches that are actually here in the Puget Sound too. So they're specifically feeling the exact same pains we are. Inventory is an issue across the country. A volatile, higher interest rate environment is a pain across the country. And whether it's a broker or it's a bank or a credit union, cutting margins is a pain that we're all feeling. So how do you win in a market where you have those 3 things working against you? And the message at this core summit was, do more than is expected. Just do what you do better. And how do you do that? And then the other message was, we have to add more value. And how do you do that? And so the focus was on real estate for mortgage lenders. It was on real estate agents, and it was on our past clients. That's it. And so we spent 2 days of top coaches that are top performing branch managers and producing loan officers talking about their systems around how to go after real estate agents, how to provide a better experience and more value to them, and how to take really, really great care of your past clients. And then lastly, how to take such great care of your existing clients, even if they do shop you and you can get past that, they'll refer you because they're grateful. And so I'm going to just share a couple things with you guys real quick. I love this. Rick Ruby's keynote talk on day one was, we're in the business of managing fear right now. Managing fear. Every home buyer has fear. If you don't believe that, go out and buy a house right now. You'll have fear. Jenny and I just bought a house. We had fear around it. And it wasn't whether or not I qualified or not. Ours was, one, managing that mortgage right now in this market. So do I go with the higher 30-year fixed rate, knowing? So basically, I took my own advice that I'm giving to people right now. We're going to be in this environment for 6 to 12 months, and we're going to refinance out of it. But the bigger fear was, we have a house to sell. We had to buy it non-contingent. The market, number 2. Number 3, we have to make this happen because there's 4 people behind me that want it if we can't, and I want this, right? So it's managing fear. All of our clients have fear. We don't know what their fear is unless we ask really great questions. And so it starts off with triangling for trust. So we've talked about this. We've coached with this. There's 3 parts of the sale. Number 1, you have to triangle for trust. As you triangle for trust, you find out how you were referred by that realtor or how we were connected. Number 1, through that conversation, you're lowering the bar. You're lowering the wall of resistance, okay? The second thing is you have to have some sort of fear-based close. And I don't like to call it a close. I like to call it a question. And so one of the things that I'll ask everyone when I meet a new client is, number 1, why do you want to buy a home right now? Tell me why you want to buy a home right now. What in this market that we're in right now is causing you to want to buy a home? Most of the time, they're going to say, I'm tired of paying rent, or we've outgrown the house, or I'm here on a job relocation. So there's 3 reasons why they could be fearful or scared, right? And then I always ask this, and this is what Rick teaches. I learned this, and we hit home on this at the summit. Have you ever talked with someone, or do you know someone who had a bad mortgage or real estate experience? 7 out of 10 are going to say yes. The stats don't lie. Fannie Mae, you know the stat, Fannie Mae. Okay, have you ever known of or talked to someone who had a bad mortgage or real estate experience? When they say yes, or if they say yes, that's when you say, that is my job to make sure that doesn't happen. We have a 4.99 5-star approval rating, okay? New American Funding has one of the top 5-star approval ratings in all of the mortgage industry, and I always send them that link as well. And we talk about the fact that New American Funding combined with our process will eliminate that. And it's my commitment and my guarantee, because Sally, your realtor that referred you over to me, will stop referring me to people. And that'll hurt my business if we don't make sure that you have an exceptional experience. And then the third, we've got to lower the bar. So at the very end, lowering the bar. How do you lower the bar getting people into application? Well, 1, we're going to make it easy for you, okay? So number 1, you triangle for trust. Number 2, you got to insert fear, or make them understand that they are afraid or fearful of something. And then third, we're going to lower the bar. Here's how we're going to lower the bar: our process. Number 2, our market knowledge. I mean, if you're listening to this, you need to follow Tony, because he talks about the market. I steal stuff from him all the time. In fact, you and I both spoke in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there listening to you, and it's a keynote that I've never heard you really talk about. And it may have been impromptu because of a question that you were asked, but it was on the market. What's the difference between a broker and us? And what's the market going to do? And just listening to you talk about the market, I'm taking nuggets and going, okay, I'm going to start using that. I need to start using that. So you got to understand the market. So we're going to talk about our process. We're going to talk about the fact that we are dialed into the market. Everyone was talking about May 10th and rates dropping. I believe it's going to be in June and July as well, like you've said.
Yep.
So letting them know that our job is to monitor that. The third thing, rates are going to drop. And it's our job to make sure that when that happens, we're going to refinance you. I don't say free. We're going to refinance you automatically. And NAF has backed that, committing to no loan fees and potentially waiving the appraisal if we can get an appraisal waiver. And so I talked to him about saving an extra $2,500 when that happens. And the last thing about this lowering the bar is understanding that homes appreciate. Homes are going to appreciate. Let's say they modestly appreciate at 4% over the next 5 years. That's a 20% appreciation over the next 5 years. You're buying this home for $700,000. If it goes up by 20%, what is that? About $150,000 in 5 years. And so lowering the bar takes the focus off of their fear. They're in good hands with us. And oh, by the way, this is a really great financial move because your payment's going to go down when we refi you, and the home's going to go up in value due to modest appreciation.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is what I just took from that. And I think to summarize it is, first of all, you got to build rapport. That's the triangle for trust, right? You got to make sure that they know who you are, that they can trust you, etc. Talking about creating some fear, really to me, what that is a different way of maybe wording that is they need to understand that you bring value to the transaction and that not every mortgage transaction goes smooth and that there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Or in the case of like your situation, maybe they found their dream home. I mean, you would say the house you just bought is your dream home. You thought you had your dream home until the house down the street came available and you're like, okay, actually, if I can make that work. And there's a lot of people in this situation where they're so emotionally attached to the outcome of the transaction. And it is important for us to highlight that we understand the fear that you have if this doesn't go well, and it's our job to make sure that it goes smoothly. And then when you say lower the bar, what you're really meaning is lower their resistance, right? You want them to move forward with you, take the next step, the gates of the sale, if you will. So it's not lowering the bar as far as the value or the service that we're providing. It's lowering their resistance to want to move forward with you. And there's lots of ways, as you spoke about, to be able to do that. So
lowering the bar so that they can make a smoother decision on yes, right? The other thing in lowering the bar that I learned this, ask them. So remember, lowering the bar, we talk about, we're going to refinance you. We're going to save you some money on your refinance. Your home's going to go up in value, minimum, very conservatively, 4% over the next 5 years. That's 20%. 4 times 5 is 20% over the next 5 years. The third is you ask them about their income. Hey, Tony, do you feel like in your occupation in the next 5 years you'll be making more money than you are today?
I hope so.
Most people will say yes, right? And most of our people are tech or they're Boeing or yes, and they're first-time home buyers, so they're in their late 20s.
Most people do not expect their income to go down over time.
Correct.
Right.
So there's 3 reasons why their resistance, their anxiety, their fear. So you got to bring fear into it so they realize the value of us.
Right.
Now we're going to lower the bar.
That's right.
Now we're going to lower the bar and go, here are some reasons why this is a good decision. You're in good hands with us. Sally said we were the best. It's going to be tough, but here's how we're going to help you accomplish this goal or this dream.
Yeah. Well, and I hope that what people get from this is that, we've talked about this for a long time. We're salespeople. You believe that. I believe that. We're salespeople. Yeah. A lot of people who are mortgage and real estate, they don't think that they're salespeople. And what we're talking about is taking the borrower through a process, through a mental journey with you, and it's orchestrated. It doesn't mean that it's not true, but there is a process. This is a psychological process a borrower's going through, and there's things that we can do as the salesperson and an expert at doing mortgages. We have to be both of those things. You're not just a salesperson. You're not just talking them into doing something they don't want to do, but you absolutely need to take them through a sales process while also being the very best student of the mortgage industry that you can and bring that value. And I think that's an important thing that you obviously learn in the core, because you can see it in your process. I've always believed this. I've always felt this way, that when we're working with a client, we have to understand psychologically what they're going through, and then we have to proactively acknowledge their fear, acknowledge their concerns, and then to Dan's point, address them and bring that fear and anxiety down, while at the same time making them feel like if I went with another lender simply because of the rate, that person may not understand the same fears and be able to deal with them in the way that you've addressed up front. That's a big part of what you're doing here is you're making them question their decision to do business with someone else because they know very clearly that you understand what they're going through.
Yeah. Like you just said, that we're both in sales. We both love and we both embrace that we're in sales. I don't think sales is a bad thing. I think there are bad salespeople, but I don't think I'm one of them. In fact, I think I'm one of the best, and I know you believe that too. So that's a good thing. And I hope, if you're listening to this, that you realize that there is a formula that great salespeople follow. We don't just wing it. The formula I just shared with you, it's triangle for trust. You've got to insert some fear, and which basically reinforces your value, and then you lower the bar so that they can say yes and they can move forward easier. So NAF, our region, we coach around this. If you guys are listening to this for the first time and you have questions on this, reach out to me or reach out to Tony and we can help you with this. But every other Friday, we talk a lot about the sales process. And I hope, and since I've been back here doing this for the last year and a half, I hope people start to realize in a market that we're in right now, you have to have this down.
Yeah.
When we have all these external challenges, you got to polish up your sales skills or you're just going to get whooped.
Well, you got to imagine that if you're a newer loan officer or one that's out of practice, just imagine that your client is shopping you and they're talking to Dan Keller. Right. So, or some other person who's trained like Dan, who is going to take them through this whole process. And if all you do is, take orders, right? An order taker. If you're like, hey, how can I help you today? Well, I'm looking for the lowest rate. Well, let me quote you a rate. I mean, if you go through, let me put it this way. In the absence of you taking them through a process, they're going to take you through their process. And when that happens, you're going to lose because the things that they think are the most important things are probably not the most important things to the transaction. And that's why it's important for us to control that. So, hey, I want to keep this podcast short, but I want to hit on a few more things. So let me just ask you this. Is the general sense of people that we're having to work more? If you're a loan officer, you're doing twice as much work for half as much results. I mean, is that still a theme that you're hearing amongst the people at the core, that you're just having to put in more time, more effort, more energy?
Yeah, it's not relying on team right now. In fact, I'll close with this here in a second. The other takeaway that I had, it used to be make your calls, bang the phone, meet with your people, and just push them off and let your team close deals. It's no longer relying on your team to close the deals. We're the tacticians, we're the doctors, we're the physicians, and we are closing the deals. We're holding our people's hands through the process. You have to until that rate is locked and the appraisal's back. So that was the message.
So to give a sports analogy, this is not where the quarterback just to sit back and be a pocket passer, and make it work. This is where you got to step up and you got to make every single play. And if that means you got to put the team on your back and carry them to the finish line, then that's what you got to do. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. The other takeaway that I brought back, which I've committed to doing a much better job at this, and that's going deeper and taking better care of your people. Like relationships. We got away from relationships, Tony. I did. We were so busy in 2020, 2021, and even part of 2022, where we neglected the fact that we've said this for years. This was, I learned this from Todd Duncan as a young loan officer, that our value, our relationship starts when the loan funds, not when you take an application, right? And we got away from that. And so the majority of the other breakout sessions were on creating that VIP list. A VIP, if you don't have a lot of clients, a VIP for you is anyone that you've helped, okay? If you have a lot of clients, a VIP is someone that has referred you in the last 12 months, or referred you even if you didn't do their loan, okay? So someone that has actually gone out and said, hey, I think you should use Dan Keller, okay? So a VIP is someone that has referred you, taking really good care of them, and then taking great care of your past clients so they become VIPs, okay? So that they refer you. So how do you do that? One takeaway that I got is that once a month, I'm going to start doing this, Tony. I got away from this. I used to do a monthly happy hour where I would invite my clients out and I would talk about personal finance. I would talk about, if you go to budgetwithdan.com, you can see exactly what I talk about, how to budget. I would give them their annual wealth test, right? And we would have a glass of wine or two, and I'd maybe bring in a financial planner or an insurance agent, talk for 10 minutes. We'd be about an hour and let them go. I'm going to start doing monthly, and yes, it's going to cost me some money, but this is an investment I'm going to invest in for the next 6 months. Dinner with Dan. So I'm going to host a monthly dinner, and people have to RSVP, and it'll be at a local restaurant in a banquet room. If I have 2 or 3 or 4 people show up, that's a win, because these are people. This is where I'm able to connect at a deeper level with those people that actually want to. So I'm going to start throwing that out to my VIPs. These are past clients that have referred me, or most recent past clients in the last 30 to 60 days, so we can keep that, because we're talking to them multiple times a week during a transaction, right? Then we fund their loan, and I make the mistake like I have over the last couple of years and stopped connecting with them on a weekly or monthly basis. So we're going to fix that. So dinner with Dan, I took that away. The other thing, Lisa Wells, she's in the Minnesota market. She's one of the best core coaches that I've ever met, and probably one of the top 5 loan originators in all of America that I've ever had a chance to talk to. I absolutely love her. She's having a lot of success with realtors right now doing small masterminds. So I do Coffee with Keller every Friday, where I'll have 6 to 20 or so realtors come by our office. Done with that. I'm going to do groups of 4 to 6 smaller masterminds with different groups of realtors. So maybe a newer group of realtors, maybe a group of realtors that have teams, maybe a group of realtors that want specifically to improve their video marketing skills, right? But you cap them at 6, and you can go deeper with each one of those. She's killing it with doing smaller masterminds. So back to the message, going deeper.
Yeah. I think the idea of hosting masterminds like that with a specific topic, I mean, another one could be investors, right? People who really want to work with investors. Yep. That's a network you really want to be in. I think realtors would be definitely down to participate in something like that. Yep. Well, look, Dan, I think that's great stuff. Look, the bottom line, the message I want to get out on this episode is that, there's people out there. Dan is the top producer in our region, and yet he is out, sharpening the saw, continuing to go to events like this and continuing to raise the bar and figure out what the very best of the best are doing. I hope that anyone watching this who is a loan originator or a real estate professional is recognizing through the consistency that we're providing in this show and the messaging that we're getting out there is that there's one way to be successful in this industry, and it's work smart, it's work hard, it's be consistent, right? I mean, those are the things that you have to do to be successful. And then look, I've given this analogy before. It's like surfing. There will come markets where you get to surf and really enjoy the hard work that you've put in, paddling out. We're still in paddle mode. We're still paddling out to catch that big wave. And that's fun too. You might catch a little wave and then you got to pedal back out. There will be the good times again. And we love those because it does allow us to really capitalize on all the work and effort that we've done building a network and building a past client database. But that's not this industry all the time. And if you want to catch those waves, you got to put in the hard work all the time. And that's what we're about here. That's what we're trying to teach people and get people in the right mindset. Because some people, unfortunately, all they know is catching wave after wave. And, this isn't a cruise ship. You don't just get to jump on and there's a wave, those fake waves. Yeah. You just get to go. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, man. No, you got to work for this one.
Here's the funny thing. You have a great story, I'm sure, to tell about the 2020 and 2021 markets, right?
Absolutely.
Incredible volume, broke numbers in your region, right? We all have really fun and interesting stories to talk about that market. Here's my encouragement to you, and I hope you take this away. Fast forward 2 or 3 years. What story are you going to have to tell about this market? It was tougher. Man, everywhere we looked, there was adversity. Every loan I got, rate shopped, potential appraisal, whatever it was. What story are you going to have to tell in a couple of years? And that's what's keeping me going right now is I want to have a great story to say, hey, we overcame this, and here's how we did it. Man, the end of my 2022 was so horrible, but we rallied and we turned it around in 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave you guys with that because that's right. That's a great exercise. When you're doing your meditation, when you're doing your quiet time in the morning, I hope you're doing that. Do that all week. Think. What, 3 years ahead, what's the story you're going to be telling yourself about how you're winning in today's market? So with that, you guys, I appreciate your time and attention here on Market Shares. We love making this content for you. Please share it with other people in the industry that you think might get value from Market Shares. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, what are you doing? We drop a new episode every single Friday. And until next time, bye for now.